Well, hey everybody, Wes McDonald here, and I want to thank you for tuning in to another episode of Tiger Paw Radio. If you're listening, if you're watching, thanks for joining us on TigerTube. I am so excited today. I've got Earl Everson. Can you say hello, Earl?
How are you, Wes?
I'm great, buddy. And the question that we're gonna talk to with Earl today is, what kind of person would start an office equipment dealership in this already saturated Chicago marketplace? I mean, it's such a big marketplace with a lot of established players. And by the way, pages, thanks to the pandemic and stuff, were in decline. But even before that, pages in slight decline, certainly uncertainty. And what kind of person would break all those rules, say to heck with it, and not only that, but grow through a pandemic, and offer their services in other areas? Well, one such person would be you, Earl. And that's why I've got you on the interview today.
Awesome.
So thanks for joining us for that today. And if you could, I always like to let my guests introduce yourself. I know you pretty well, but you know yourself best of all. So if you could, tell us a bit about yourself and maybe share one interesting thing that people may not know about you.
Earl Everson with Elite Document Solutions. And yes, I started back in '08, started the company. So we're going to talk about that. Um, you know, I, I claim to be the hardest working person in the industry here in Chicago. So truly here Saturdays, Sundays, 24/7 mindset with me. And even with the pandemic, it's even more so right now. And I think that's one reason that we've been growing and been extremely busy. But yeah, I just take a lot of pride in what we do, what we bring to the table, and how we, separate ourselves from the hundreds of competitors that we have, right? So
Yeah, and that's one thing I've noticed about you that maybe a lot of people do not realize. I mean, you do work from dawn till dusk, and you really lift up your people. And I think you're a bit of a fitness enthusiast as well, right? That kind of helps with, helping you get through those longer days.
absolutely, it just kind of just clears the mind. And to be honest, that's why I go every morning, 5:30. I like to get in there because it really allows me to dial in like what's on the agenda today and how can I do it. And really more so, it's just to get refreshed and recharged every day. And it's so important for me because it allows me to go out and kind of fight the fight, because it is a battle. It is a fight every single day. And again, that's why I do it. It really just clears the mind.
Yeah, well, it's fight the fight, but I've never seen a more enthusiastic or positive energied, person in the space. So whatever
Yeah,
you're doing, clearly you're doing it right.
I
And
appreciate
hey,
it.
I want to congratulate you as well. So last week, you were announced on the list, Tiger Paw's top 100 most influential in the office equipment channel for Vantage Print. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much, Wes. Definitely
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah.
All right, let's dive right in. And the first thing I do want to talk about is the start. So you mentioned
Mm,
in '08 that you did
yes.
start the business. And
Yep.
at that time, there were a lot of giants in the space already. And I think it'd be useful for people that are looking to start a business, either in the office equipment world or maybe even to expand some of their offerings. What made you decide to do the leap and what kind of mindset that takes?
Yeah. Actually, so back in '08, if you remember the world, we were going through recession at that point, right? '07, '08, everything was kind of collapsing around us. And I was actually working at Kia Sarah as a national account manager at the time. So I just figured there's never a good time, right, to start your business. There never is. And once you get into that corporate environment, that corporate mindset, you kind of get that security blanket around you. And it's like, I don't know if I should jump off the edge and make that leap. Everything it's good, you know? So, but I've always wanted to run my own operation and kind of do it my way. Nothing against corporate, the manufacturers and so forth. I just wanted to do it my way. And then finally, I just picked up the phone and made the call to the VP and said, I want to make that leap of faith and kind of do my own thing. So the question is, what are you going to do? I'm like, I don't really know, but I just want to start my own company. And I started selling toner selling toner, laser toner cartridges for HPs out into the marketplace to kind of learn from another side of the business without the equipment. And that kind of got my foot wet again into the equipment. And then customers were asking, can you sell printers? Can you sell copiers? And then we made the leap to, pick up Kia Sarah at the time, to really dive in on the equipment side. But I'll tell you, Wes, everybody that I knew at the time, they were like, you are crazy. Why would you start a business when companies are going out of business? The recession is in play. What are you thinking? And I thought this is actually probably the best time because companies are looking for some type of help, whether it's reducing expenses, maybe dealing with another, vendor, a local vendor, whatever the case is. What value could I bring to the table? And I took the leap, never looked back, and I said, it is what it is. I'm going to work extremely hard. I've always been a hard worker, and I thought if I could just dedicate my efforts and try to get sales, it'll be okay. It's going to be hard. It's going to be slow. There's going to be a lot of obstacles that I need to figure out. But I tell you, when you just have the mindset that nothing is going to stop you, and you're going to just figure it out. It's just like being thrown out of the nest. I just had to figure it out. And I did, slowly but surely got, my scrapes and bruises and so forth. But I've always enjoyed the chase and learning. So,
Well, you sure did. And I know that, one of my favorite expressions comes from the golden age of sail, back when people were crossing the ocean and fighting each other on the ocean in wooden boats with cannons. And the expression is a fair sea, a great sailor never made. Right. So in order to be a great sailor, in order to be a great business person, it's that adversity and those challenges that really, separate the wheat from the chaff, if you will. Right.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
and strengthen us. So you've clearly demonstrated that. But what's amazing is even going through that, the positive attitude and energy that you bring to the game every day, right? That a lot of people, when encountered with those situations, might be a little more negative and a little more, I guess, would say, battle hardened and not very nice, right? So
Yeah, for
let's
sure.
maybe talk about that. How do you, as a business owner that started in such a hard time and have become very successful, keep that positive attitude? Because I think that's important as well, right?
Extremely, and you really realize you realize that you are truly on an island all alone. You no longer have the colleagues or your management team to kind of direct you through that rough sea, right? It's you. And what I found and realized was, okay, let me identify my top 5 competitors. Who are they? What do they do? And find out, like, what are their weaknesses? No matter how large they are, what are their weaknesses? And figure out, how do you sell against that? How do you defeat them on the streets every single day? And it took me, 3-4 years to really figure out, how do you beat them? What's the selling points against them? And then go to the market and just make it happen. Because when you figure out, when they become so large, they become extremely vulnerable and weak at the same time. And they hang their hats on, like, hey, we have this great marquee behind us and we're so big. But at the same time, they're easier to take down. They have massive turnover, right? Their costs, their pricing structure is extremely high, right? Their service begins to fail because there's a lack of communication,
Right.
and all these things come into play. So then, the customers are like, they want that personal touch. They want to be treated a certain way. Even though they're a smaller organization, they want to be treated like they're a large organization. How can they get that personal touch? Matter of fact, today, we just installed a machine on Friday from one of our larger competitors. And the head attorney sent me an email this morning. I was coming into the office and I saw his name pop up. I'm like, oh, did something happen over the weekend with this install, right? And I was there, and he's like, Earl, he goes, I truly appreciate you coming out and giving us that personal touch that you did, because the competitor was much larger, nothing against them, but sometimes you lose that, and for us, that's why I'm involved in every aspect of the business, because I want to make sure from A to Z, it's a smooth transition. I'm here, the face of the business, and I'm like the personal touch. I want to make sure that our new customers are happy with making that transition to us. And I think it's critical. So
Yeah, two important things. One, obviously, know your competitors, and no matter who's out there, how big they are, that there are chinks in their armor, if you will, right? That there are places to go after them. And the second thing I really love is that idea of the customer is not always just buying on the thing that you're selling, the piece of equipment that you've said, personal care, personal touch, several times, right, in the last couple of minutes. And that knowing that for some customers, that is an important buying trigger to be treated, not just like that, that they're a good customer, but that they matter, right? It's like,
absolutely. Absolutely. And I tell you that the biggest, the biggest way I've separated my competitors the past 5-6 years has been the flat rate.
yeah,
Truly. And not to talk about the flat rate, but that has been,
yeah,
that has been such a huge thing, because what I've realized, the large dealers, again, they've been doing the same thing the same way the past 30 years. And this new concept comes along. How do you adjust to the flat rate? And knowing that my larger competitors, in order for them to compete against my flat rate, they have to change their comp plans and change everything internally to defeat me. And they're not going to do it. They're going to keep losing business because they don't know how to adjust, how to compensate their sales force on my flat rate, which is a great thing. And when I realized that, I said, I'm going all in with the flat rate, because a smaller dealership like myself is going to beat the larger dealerships day in and day out, because they cannot provide a program, a customer-centric program, that's better than anything else on this planet.
So you hit on a big thing there, that really what you're talking about is an innovation in what a lot of people would say is a mature model, right? That there's always room to be able to modify and adapt something for these modern times, right?
Correct.
And, I know there are people out there that say that, managed print is dead, but clearly, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like what you're saying. It's like, no, it's not dead. You just need to change, delivery and what it actually means to your customer, right?
Correct. It's just a different model. It's a different model now. It's more of a customer-centric product program. And it is truly, when the light bulb goes off with the customers, they're going to bring in 5-6 other competitors. And I welcome those competitors, because I know they don't offer it. So I'm like, go ahead and waste your time on those 5 competitors. But when you finish, here's our program.
Yeah, nothing makes me happier. That's one thing I always say is like, oh, your RFP process or your buy process requires that you bring in some other competitors, like bring them, because you've got the business, right?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And you know what? That's what keeps a positive mindset, is when you can go into the field and know that you have something that nobody else has, right? It's almost, to me, it's almost like selling an iPhone over the competitors. Who else is going to compete with an iPhone? It's so unique and so different that it's like it sells itself. And same thing with the flat rate. It's going to sell itself when you position it the right way.
I'm glad you brought up the iPhone reference as well, right? Because the one thing about the iPhones is they're not cheap, right? That if you're going to buy an iPhone, especially if it's in the Pro series, that they're an expensive unit. As expensive now as buying a laptop or a computer, right?
Oh, I know. I can't wait for the 13. I'm going to place my order this week, matter of
right.
fact.
So what you've just nailed there, though, and what I hear is that it's not about price, right? And that's one thing that I hear from people that misunderstand the flat rate program. It's like, oh, well, the only value proposition there is it's cheaper. And it's like, it's not. It's not.
It's not. It brings so much more value than the price. Customers want simplicity.
Right.
They're done with these invoices. They're done with so many parts of it. They're like, I was just meeting with a customer this morning, not my customer, but it's going to be my customer probably in the next 5 hours. But, she's like, we get these monthly and quarterly invoices, these overage invoices. They're ridiculous. We're tired. We don't know how to budget for these, right? The solution, ding, 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 flat rate program. I told her about it. She's like, that's exactly what we want. It's the easiest sell. So again, for my competitors, and that's why I wanted to create a company in this saturated market. Chicago, because I knew the competitors, I knew what they were doing. And I knew if I could get my formula, a program to be different, not the same, but be entirely different, I can beat anybody out there. And that's what's happening.
Yeah, and you mentioned that it's the program, right? Because they're still getting a piece of hardware to print pages. They're still getting, toner to be able to do that.
Correct.
Some of the elements are the same, but that value that you talk about going over top, I always love having that conversation because when the value is real, people will pay for it, right?
Mhm.
And that's one mistake I see young salespeople make is say I lost on price, right?
Mhm.
Oftentimes it's like, well, no, I just don't think the customer understood why they had to pay more. Because if they understood why they should pay more, they
Correct.
probably will, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I took one of my new reps out today. Um, and I said, I rarely talk about the equipment these days. I really talk about programs and how their current vendors are charging for this and charging for that, how we simplified their process, giving them predictable billing. It's just, I take that equipment portion out of it and just say, here, this is how we deliver our programs. And
Yeah,
if it's a good fit, it's a good fit. It's a great fit 100% of the time. It's a great fit, but it's not the cheapest program. That's for sure. It's not the cheapest program.
I love that.
Yeah.
And to go into a marketplace like that and grow a business knowing that it wasn't going to be based on price, that it was really going to be about innovation and doing things different and bringing those things to the market, right?
Correct.
So when we're looking at the dealer community, in a broader perspective, not just your competitors, um, what kinds of things do you think they should be thinking about for growth? We've talked about flat rate. Are there other areas or other things that they should be thinking about, for growing into the new year? Or do you think that if they focused at least on delivering a better style of managed print, a better, bundle, that maybe that's enough for them to get through this? What do you think?
For us, and I can only speak for us, it's diversifying into a few other things.
Mm,
And I think for us, we're getting into the IT side slowly but surely. We partnered with a local company here to help us on the IT. And then I'm looking into postage devices to kind of bring another avenue, a stream of revenue to the company, because print is starting to decline, right? It's a fact. And so with that, I need to diversify into other things. Wide format plotters. We're into wide format plotters now. So we're bringing that into a service, that we're offering our customers. So I think with IT, the wide format print devices, soon to be postage devices, I think we're going to cover and have different buckets feeding into the company, as well as offering our customers more of a one-stop shop.
Yeah, getting more of that wallet share, right? And that's the other thing that gets me excited about what you're doing with your flat rate program is you're kind of creating this level platform to be able to add other services on top of it, right?
Yeah.
Because once you've got a customer on a flat rate, what's to stop you from just adding a few additional dollars per seat for some other additional
True.
thing, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for me, I'm in the beginning stages of this whole IT side. So I'm trying to learn the billing process. How do you
Right.
bill, and how does that whole thing work so we can break that down to a flat rate program? And that is kind of my goal right now, is once I wrap my arms around this whole IT infrastructure and how do the competitors bill and so forth, how can we beat them at their own game with a better program, a better service, a better billing method? And that's going to be flat rate.
I love it. So you're going to take the same, challenge to the managed IT world that you took to, the office equipment dealers in Chicago.
100%. Yeah.
Hey man, I'm,
Absolutely.
I'm telling you, it's a formula that sounds like it's going to work across all business spectrums, right?
I think so. I
Yeah,
think so.
Earl Everson, I really appreciate taking the time to give us a glimpse into what got you started in the space, how you've been succeeding, and some of the new things that you'll be getting up to. And for everyone out there that's been watching, I want to thank you. If you've been listening on Tiger Paw Ready, I want to thank you for that as well. And until next time, remember to keep learning. And as Earl's doing, keep positive and keep innovating your business.
True. Thank you so much, Wes.
Thank you, Earl.
Pleasure.